Russia as a partner? Do you view them as an ally? Do you view them as an adversary? And does the president trust President Putin?
I haven't asked him that question.
Could you please ask him that question?
Yeah.
So they update us as Russia a friend or foe?
Again, I haven't had a chance to have that direct conversation. I've been a little preoccupied with other things, Major. But I will check on that.
Do you have an answer yet on that question?
I don't, but John, I do assure you I will certainly work to make sure I get that answer to you.
All right, so something's developing here.
3 straight days of comments by Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. They don't
So they're
allow her to go on camera?
What is it, like the 7 stages of grief? Is that what they call it?
What's going on here?
I'm going through like these different stages of looking at White House press secretaries. The first is being incredulous. The second is being insulted. The third is being angry. You get to the 7th and you just feel sorry for them, Glenn.
Well,
you just feel, I'm talking about myself. At this point, it's like, it's just the impossible
why won't they let her
job.
go on camera?
Remember the Unknown comic from the 70s?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of these days we're gonna walk in and someone's gonna be wearing a paper bag over their head.
I know.
Look, I think we're just dealing with, they can't answer any questions. She doesn't want to answer any questions. I am told that the daily decision every day to have it off camera, the reason why we're getting the advisories at 9 o'clock in the morning is because Trump himself is making this decision. Like he doesn't want people on air defending him because he thinks he's the one who can best handle them. But here's the thing that I think is interesting. We spent all this time talking about how Sean Hannity is telling Trump to shut down the briefings,
right.
How they're thinking about moving us across the street, maybe into a Starbucks.
That'd be good.
That'd be terrific.
No, but he does have people on camera. He has that Jay Sekulow. He has Kellyanne holding up little pictures. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Why won't he let the White House Assistant Press Secretary go on camera?
Because they don't have any information to impart. They have effectively shut down the briefing.
Well, why would they even have a briefing then?
That, I think, is a good question. I think the reason why reporters are attending that thing is they're waiting for a briefing to unexpectedly break out one of these days.
So, has there been any talk among the White House press corps to stop attending the briefings?
You can't do that, I don't think, personally. And, you know, we are all members of the White House Correspondents Association. Jeff Mason is the president. And we are bound by the dictates of our institutions and by the
You've got to be there in case news does break.
And the other thing is, you know, everyone, the biggest amount of Twitter hate we're all getting these days is why we don't record this. We don't record this because we go to the briefings in the expectation that we ask questions and get answers. I am less alarmed by the video aspect of this than the fact that, as you said, we have 3 straight days. She's not answering.
Well, I'm less alarmed by the video aspect of it too. I mean, it's obviously the TV networks would like to have the pictures, but at the same time, it's about the information. And unfortunately, you're not getting any information. Nobody's getting information from the White House right now, and you've got to believe a lot of it has to do with the fact that people that work for Donald Trump now know that they're going to be proven to be liars if they stick their neck out too far.
Well, look at the pattern of commentary by Sean Spicer over 3 or 4 months. When he came out, infamously, his first briefing was screaming at everybody about the crowd estimates, right? Over time, and he would defend the president unequivocally in the most extreme language.
Right.
Over the course of the last couple of months, when he was still doing that job, he was saying, "The president has told me. The president has said." People have got to protect themselves.
Yeah, he got smart, and also he, a lot of times, will say he doesn't know. That's something that Sarah will also say. I don't have that information. I haven't spoken to the president yet. Over and over again.
You know, I think
it's also the safest thing to say if you have a president that is going to change his mind on a whim.
It's not like this never happened in previous administrations, but the degree to which it happens as the rule and not the exception makes a mockery of what the institution and that daily event is supposed to be about, which is the government's supposed to be accountable to answer questions from reporters on behalf of the public, and there's nothing like that occurring.
Yeah, Sam, but what has not happened before is you haven't had a press secretary go out, say something, be contradicted by the President of the United States, and then nothing happened. If that happened in previous White Houses, and it had, that always would get the Chief of Staff and everybody together, and people would turn to the President and say, don't do that again.
But it's not
we
just,
have to be on the same
And it's not just the
page.
press secretary. I mean, remember what happened this past week, where Mnuchin, where he comes out and talks about how great the cybersecurity partnership is, and then Trump tweets later in the day how it's useless.
Well, the chief of staff, as Mark said, the chief of staff goes on the Sunday show and just gives bad information. Donald Trump undercuts him, or
you wonder what the threshold is for these people to go out and do this. But what the Trump people don't quite see, which I wish they did, was that it actually benefits them to have a more open relationship with the press.
Are you sure of that?
Yes. I mean, John Kennedy. Yeah, I am. John Kennedy.
No, I'm talking about this specific.
My point is, John Kennedy was famously quoted saying how much he hated the press, but how important it was for him because it controlled his worst impulses. It forced him to actually think about things introspectively.
What if they have a president that can't control their worst impulses?
Exactly.
Though? And what if?
He hasn't done anything but favorable media for the past 2 months.
What if he has something to hide?
Pat Robertson was a
yes, he was really tough. But my point is that if Trump Trump has done nothing but favorable media for 2 months and barely any of that to begin with. His press people take Skype questions from largely favorable media and then shut it down for much of the rest of the media, keep these briefings really short. I think they would be forced to act in a different fashion, a much more calm and sane fashion, if they were required to actually have these questions asked to them. And I don't think they realize there's benefits.
If you want to get 38% president, this is fine.
Well, this is President Bannon's 38% plan is working masterfully. I will say, though, here's a problem with the Trump administration. So let's say, okay, somebody walks in, the new chief of staff has the powers. We're going to have press briefings today. Mr. President, we're going to go out and we're just going to answer every question until they get tired. Guess what? Every day there are 2 brutal stories, 3 brutal stories. So what would happen today? The first questions would be the Wall Street Journal story about money and contacts with the Trump organization even before the campaign started. Even more troubling, they would have to answer 100 questions about this McClatchy story that Mark Halperin and others have been following some time, that the FBI, the Justice Department, Mueller are now investigating possible links between Jared Kushner and Donald Trump's digital operation and the Russians.
It's an amazing story, and I should give a shout out to McClatchy, which is another reason why these news organizations that a lot of Americans aren't all that familiar with are doing really great work on this stuff. Look, I think you answered your own question. They don't have answers to any of this stuff. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is not being read in by Jared Kushner on what he did with Cambridge Analytica, nor does she want to be.
No, she does not want to be, because she'll then have to talk to Bob Mueller.
Remember that famous picture of Ron Ziegler and Richard Nixon, where Nixon says something to him, spins him around, and pushes him out to the briefing room? The sequence in the Trump White House is exactly the opposite. The focus is not on us. The focus is on Donald Trump. They have Donald Trump as their client. Donald Trump spins the press secretary around and points him towards himself. Right. He is demanding of these folks that they give a command performance every day for him. And what they've chosen to do is not do it.
And that started day one. You're talking about Sean Spicer. Spicer was yelled at on the first day. President Trump was screaming for him to get out and give the briefing on the crowd sizes. And afterwards, somebody in the administration told me, when I said that was absolutely deplorable, you all embarrassed yourself, said you should have seen how bad it would have been. Spicer afterwards went back in and got his head torn off because he wasn't aggressive enough and because he was wearing a light suit.
Oh, yeah.
His jacket was ill-fitting.
Well,
No, I'm just saying,
I heard the same thing.
It follows up on what you're saying. It's an impossible job, whether it's Sean Spicer or Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It's just an impossible job to have for this.
I'd make a modest proposal. If Trump wants to be the one who talks to the press, let him come out.
He did it once.
Well,
he took as many questions as it took. It was about like an hour and 15 minutes of him just going back and forth. And there was hope at that point in time that he would do that routinely, and it just hasn't.
Mayors do that in New York City. In the Blue Room, you'd have it too. I think de Blasio's really shut that down, but you'd have 2 to 3 days a week with Rudy.
Think about the problem, though, and then I know we have to go to break, but think about the problem. The further we get into this administration, the more Donald Trump proves he can't control what he says. And in his meeting with the Russians, he gave fodder to Bob Mueller. In his interview with Lester Holt, he gave fodder to Bob Mueller. In his tweets, he does the same thing. So his lawyers have to be telling him, stop talking. You know, we were last week it was stop tweeting.
Yeah.
Now the lawyers have to be saying stop talking, and he's disappeared for 3 days,
How does this
right?
presidency operate?
Just did two
Glenn
interviews.
Thrush. By the way, Alex has something to say to you.
Oh yeah, with
Stop talking. All right, Glenn Thrush, thank you very much.
Look at that.
Up next.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.